Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. Lee Brecheen. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report, and hope everybody's having a great Friday. We've got a great show today. Wanted to tell you that our first segment, which is going to be an opening, is on ULL's football signing class for wide receivers. They signed 4 phenomenal wide receivers, all from Louisiana. And we're going to talk about all 4 of these kids and how I think they're going to be great players for UL. And, you know, with all the great receivers that came out this past year in high school football in Louisiana, 2 signed with LSU, Corey Moore from Rummel and Kashawn Butte, who could be a 5-position player for LSU from Westgate. But there were 4 other receivers that I thought UL did the greatest, best job in state getting 4 phenomenal players. We're also going to have an interview with an outstanding young man from Mandeville High School, a kicker by the name of Caden Costa. What a great kid. You're going to listen to Caden Costa's story. His parents are from Texas. His mom and dad went to Texas A&M. And he's one of the top kickers in the state. He kicks them 6 yards deep in the end zone. I've seen this with my own eyes in person at a game. He's phenomenal, and he also plays receiver tight end. And we also have John Tudor, former LSU basketball player for LSU Tigers under Dale Brown, signed in 1981. Part 2 of his interview from Monday, it'll be his second part of his interview. He's going to be talking about Will Wade and John Brady. John Brady's the play-by-play for LSU basketball games, the former head coach, and Will Wade, current head basketball coach at LSU. So you don't want to miss any of that. Let's go ahead and go into our first segment, and it's about ULL's dynamic 4 freshman signees at wide receiver, all from Louisiana. And I just want to tell people about these kids that I've seen all 4 of these kids play. Over basically a 3-year stretch. Most of these kids start at 3 years each. One is Tyron Lacey from Thibodeau High School. Tyron's about 6'3", about 215. He's a big guy. Runs a 4.59 40. The only thing about Tyron is that will he grow into a tight end? Will he become a 240-pound 4'6" tight end and be an NFL candidate? Or will he stay at 215 and just stay where he's at 6'3"? Got great vertical, over 38 inches, can run, has good hands, and he's actually very fast for a big guy. But this is a guy that can come in as a true freshman for the Ragin Cajuns and play right away. And then they have another freshman they signed out of these 4 we're going to talk about, Dante Fleming. Dante Fleming went to East St. John High School in LaPlace. Dynamic, big-time playmaker. I'm going to tell you something right now. This kid I thought was an SEC receiver. Could have signed with Alabamas and LSUs and the Floridas and the Georgias. Dante Fleming is a legit 6 foot tall, about 175, runs a 4.49 40. Great hands, great in space. Could be a slot receiver for UL or could be a flanker, and should play immediately. He could be a punt returner, a kick returner, just a phenomenal big-time playmaker. Everybody was talking about Kashawn Butte out of Westgate, which is all deserved going to LSU. But Dante Fleming's the guy under the radar that's got a pro future again. The third receiver in this group going into UL, they're all going to be freshmen. Errol Rogers, E-R-R-O-L, Errol Rogers. Is 6 foot tall, about 185, and started 4 years for Treff Falk and Lafayette Christian in Lafayette, Louisiana. Errol is a 4'5" kid. He played quarterback, he played DB, he played everywhere, but he's going to settle in as a receiver, or he could end up moving to DB, but I think he'll be a receiver because he's just a big-time player with the ball in his hands. The 4th receiver from Louisiana signed in this class for ULL that I think will have a chance to play a lot is Reginald Johnson from Southern Lab in Baton Rouge. Reginald Johnson is a big-time football player that runs a 4.45, verticals over 38 inches. Super player. Played DB at Southern Lab, was a cornerback, was a receiver, started 4 years with a very talented group. He was actually a starter when Ty Davis was there from LSU and Cordell Thomas. He was a starter in that same group. He was a year behind those guys. But Reginald Johnson is a phenomenal player. And here's a kid that could play DB if they need him to, but it would be a shame if he's not playing offense with the ball in his hands. Reginald Johnson has a chance to be an NFL guy, but I wanted to bring this up because these are 4 kids, all from Louisiana, all signing with the in-state school, UL Ragin Cajuns, and all 4 of these kids have a pro future. I think they do. Barring an injury, or something like that. Tyron Lacey from Thibodeau, Dante Fleming from East St. John, Errol Rogers from Lafayette Christian, and Reginald Johnson from Southern Lab. I don't ever remember a state school signing 4 players in one class from Louisiana outside of LSU this talented. And this is going to really help Levi Lewis, the quarterback, the senior to be at ULL, having this kind of talent coming in behind the kids they already have. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have a great interview with Caden Costa, the kicker from Mandeville High School.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hello, Sports Scouting Report fans. Like what you hear? Well, you're going to love our content at LAFootballMagazine.com. This week, check out our 2 recruit spotlights. Our first recruit spotlight of the week is on Parkview Baptist quarterback Roman Mule, who has committed to the Air Force Falcons last week. Our second recruit spotlight of the week is on the Kentwood linebacker Jakevis Callahan, who is carrying on the number 7 jersey left by his brother, LSU wide receiver Trey Palmer. Also, make sure to check out our podcast put on Mondays and Fridays each and every week, as well as pre-order your North and South Football Magazine editions for this upcoming season. All that and more at LAFootballMagazine.com. It's time for the Recruit of the Week.
Hi, you're listening to the Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. We have a great guest today from Mandeville High School, one of the top kickers in the state that I think is one of the top kickers in Louisiana, by the name of Caden Costa from Mandeville High School, going to be a senior in 2021. I had a chance to see Caden play last year against Archbishop Hannon in person. And what impressed me about Caden was his kickoffs. He can kick them 5-6 yards deep in the end zone most of the time. He's got a 55-yard leg or better. We'll ask him that. And smart kid, got a 30 ACT, a 4.1 GPA. Will be a 4-year starter. Caden, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me.
All the way from Mandeville, man, St. Tammany Parish. Y'all got a good football team coming back at Mandeville. You play for Hutch Gonzalez, who is a star. He's a legend at Southeastern. You know his background a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. He's made it known.
Who can outrun who, Caden? Can you outrun Hutch in the 40? I mean, in like a 40-yard dash, you think?
It's pretty funny. So, actually, we kind of race at summer conditioning and stuff, and he always prides himself on, winning the first race, and then I'm pretty conditioned, so I usually win the next ones. But I'd say fresh legs, he wins all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Coach is pretty fast, man. Still pretty young to run, and it's good to have a young coach like that, energetic with a lot of fire, huh, Caden? That's always pushing the players, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like your dog was trying to be interviewed there for a minute. Huh? I heard your dog barking in the background. That's pretty good stuff, man. He's talking to us, wanting to be on the show. Now, last year, you were a junior. You were 2 inches shorter. I thought you were, you looked 6 foot then. You were over 185. Now you're 6'1", 200 pounds. And what is it about your end zones? Is that something that's natural for you? Because that's a big part of being recruited, is kicking the ball deep in the end zone for college. To be a college kicker, to get a scholarship offer, you have to have a long leg, a consistent leg. And do you work on those kickoffs? Is that something that comes naturally for you?
I've always had, a decent leg, but in the past year or so, definitely just improved a lot. Just from what I've done in the weight room and on the field, and then also with form, just learning more about, what makes it go farther has really helped a lot. So yeah, it's just really improved in the last year or so.
You're listening to Caden Costa, a kicker from Mandeville High School class of 2021, one of the top kickers in Louisiana. I don't get into rankings on all these sites, man. When I see someone that can play the game at a high level, I just say high D1, and that's what I always use for recruits, and in college coaches. You play receiver for your team too, Caden. Talk about that. What impressed me too is that you deliver blows. Most kickers don't take hits, but you are strong. You're a strong kid and got a strong build. So, when you catch the ball, you're trying to run over people.
Yeah, I actually I play a lot of tight end too. So I'm down on the line and, trying to get that defensive end on the ground most of the time. The
coaches just fell in love with you listening to that, Caden, those college coaches. Their dream is to have a kicker that'll actually pancake somebody after they make a field goal. So, now, are we going to start calling Mandeville High School kicker you because Joseph Buelis is at Alabama, and you were an 8th grader when he was the starter, and then there was only 1 year between the two of you, and you took over basically for him a year later. But is Mandeville going to be like the new kicker school in Louisiana?
I think it is kicker U. We actually had a Parker Pastorello. He was the punter at Northwestern State.
Yeah,
and then we also had a kicker that went and walked on at LSU, who was also pretty decent. So for the past, 10, 15 years, Mandeville's always had a solid kicker.
Hey, Caden, hold on. We're going to take a break, and we're going to bring you right back. We're going to take a break. You're listening to Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. We have one of the top kickers on from Mandeville High School, Caden Costa. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back to the Sports Scouting Report. You're listening to Lee Brecheen, and I hope you're enjoying the show. And Caden Costa joins us from Mandeville, one of the top kickers in Louisiana for the class of 221. Caden, you like Air Force, Army, and ULL. Now, that's who you like, and that could change because I know kickers get scholarship offers late. It's always late with punters, kickers, and long snappers. What's your feelings on that? You guys need to start getting those early offers like the rest of the other positions, right, Caden?
Yeah, recruiting's a whole different game for kickers.
And punters, and long snappers. It seems like all of y'all guys are like the last to get those offers, but y'all are the most important, I think.
Yeah, usually they're there's not many scholarships available, so, the top guys are always competing for it, and it usually turns into some good competition during the summer and then going into the season on who has the best stats and stuff. And then, those scholarship offers are hard to come by.
So why do you like Air Force? What is it about Air Force that you like?
Their coaches are, I've actually, gotten on FaceTime with their head coach. They're just really, once you go there, you're set up for life. You graduate and then you have a good salary and they pay for grad school and you're basically just set for life with those military schools.
So you got Army and then ULL. Are you hearing from LSU at all in-state?
Yeah, I've talked to their special teams graduate assistant a couple times, Chris Forrest here.
Okay. What do you think of the homeschool after they won the national title? Has that kind of growing on you some, or were you an LSU fan at all growing up, or did that make you like become one?
I've actually I'm moved from Texas when I was younger, so I'm not a huge LSU fan, but being national champions, it's a pretty good opportunity.
So if you would have stayed in Texas, tell everybody what part of Texas your family's originally from, and then if you would have stayed in Texas, what school would you be most loyal to probably?
Well, we're actually I was born in College Station, and both my parents went there, and then my brother goes there now.
Wow.
So we're big Aggie fans.
So if Texas A&M comes along and says, Caden, you get that one kicker scholarship offer, is it over?
Yeah, it'd be over.
The 12th man, the history of that school, and then Jimbo Fisher, and this is their year, right? Is this the year you think for A&M? They've got to win this year, right? This is Jimbo's third year.
Yeah, Jimbo's doing a good job of getting it back on track. So big things coming soon, I hope.
All right, so you're a kicker, and I want to put this out there. You run a legitimate 4.7 40, which most kickers run like 5.1, 5.5 40s. But you run you could actually run probably 4.69 on turf, and that's even improving every day. But you're 200 pounds, play tight end, receiver, and kicker. But field goals, you were 9 out of 15. You kicked some long ones, though. You tried to make some long ones, and you made some long ones. But tell everybody about what do you feel comfortable with, Caden, distance-wise? I mean, is it 50 in? Is it 55 in? And what do you think you can hit in college?
I'd say 55 and in. I actually hit 67 at practice last weekend. Yeah, and that's perfect conditions, turf, all that. So in game, I mean, it always depends on the conditions, snapper, holder, all that. But perfect conditions, I'd say 55 and in, pretty comfortable.
Now, Mandeville takes their weightlifting pretty serious, and you might be one of the strongest kickers in the state. You bench 275, so you're pushing 300. You squat 405, and you clean 275. You're pushing almost 300 on the clean, man. What is it about the weight room at Mandeville?
It's a culture. Everybody loves it. We get in there and get after it every day. So, our team really takes pride in that section of our work ethic.
Caden, if you could think about it as a kicker, because I always tell parents this, think about the fall, think about where you're going to go during the season, for college football. But if you could take 4 unofficial visits, like with your parents, to just go visit a game, like a school's game, like on Saturday, who are 4 schools that you want to definitely attend a game this fall?
That's tough.
You can think about it. Like just off the top of you, just think about what you think would be 4 schools that you'd like. I mean, you might not be able to get to 4 schools, but to take in the game experience.
I'd really like to go see some of the schools that I've been talking to. I went to see Tulane last year, and then I've been talking to Colorado, Memphis, and then ULL, of course. They already have the offer from them, and then Virginia Tech, too. Those are 4 of the ones I'm really interested in that I'd like to go see a game.
Caden, you got to do this with Colorado and Virginia Tech. You got to go when it's real cold, so you know what it's like to kick.
Yes, sir.
Like 10 degrees, and if it's snowing in Boulder, it's like, can I do that, right?
Yes, sir.
Like, how do those kickers kick in the wind and it's snowing?
It's definitely harder. You got to try to keep everything the same, but the ball is definitely going to move a little different.
You had 46 touchbacks in 2019. That's a lot of touchbacks on kickoffs. And I think you're one of the best. I know Avery Atkins. I don't know if you followed him at LSU. It's from Auburn, Alabama, actually. What's crazy, Caden, Avery Atkins' mom and dad went to Auburn. His whole family went to Auburn, and they don't offer him, and Avery Atkins is at LSU kicking off. Is that crazy?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but Avery was 97% on touchbacks in 2019 and 2018. Is that crazy?
It's a crazy number for sure.
And that's something I think you can hit, right? What do you think your percentage is going into 220 on your kickoffs?
shoot. I mean, every time I'm kicking, I'm trying to get in the end zone. So definitely close to that, 90%, 100% mark is what I'm aiming for. But then, of course, it always, depends on field conditions. If the field's a little muddy, we might try to sky kick or something. So it all depends.
Y'all got a good team coming back. Y'all got Tot coming back at quarterback, one of the best athletes in St. Tammany Parish. Y'all have a real good linebacking core coming back. A good team, a lot of talent. What do you think's the potential of the team? You think there's a chance to compete for a state championship?
Absolutely. I mean, we're trying to go to the Dome every year, but this is certainly a year that we think we have a good chance. I think we have 18 starters coming back on both sides of the ball. So it's a lot of seniors, and we're, I think we're at an advantage to a lot of other teams just because of how much leadership we have.
Yeah.
Going through the whole break with no practice and no spring. I know most of our players already know, the same offense and defense that we ran last year. So I think we're at a really good advantage right now.
Hey, I got to mention this. Y'all have an offensive lineman who's not even scratching his potential yet. It's a senior. He's 6'8", 340. Mickey. What do you think of this Mickey kid? I mean, he's only started playing football about, a year ago on varsity?
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a large human. You'll be walking around the weight room and stuff, and, you have to look up to see him. But
and you're 6'1".
Yeah. But me and him are really good friends, and I think he's going to have a huge year this year. Just the way he's changed his body and his mentality going into football has really changed a lot for the better.
Anything you want to share with all the listeners as far as any tradition at Mandeville, or any jokes or any stories about do y'all have any tradition before a game that y'all do that you want to share with everybody, like as a team?
I mean, we try to think. I mean, we do some different stuff for different teams. We usually, I know 2 games this year, we actually smashed a mascot of the 2 schools we were playing.
Okay.
But yeah, we do something different every time. Try to get hyped up for the game.
So who is the strongest player on the team, pound for pound, in your opinion?
Pound for pound, I'd say Ethan Yodanza.
Yeah. How big is he? Because the audience will know, like, height, weight, you think, and what do you think he can lift?
He's about 190, I want to say. Probably about 5'10". He plays safety. And this dude is, just absolutely shredded. You would not think he's in high school. I know he does powerlifting. I know he squatted over 500.
Wow.
And he benched over 315.
Wow.
So, and his power cleans up there with 315 as well. So, pound for pound, that dude's pretty shredded.
Doesn't need a spot usually, huh?
No.
Well, I'll tell you what, Caden, I appreciate you calling in. I'm glad that we got you on because a lot of people don't know who you are outside of St. Tammany, and outside that district. And the few schools that know, and now more schools will know about you. There's a kicker out of West Monroe this year. His last name is Skaggs, Luke Skaggs, who's got a chance to be really good. You're really good, and there's a couple of other ones that we're going to bring on along with Skaggs later in the year. But, there's always about 4 or 5 kickers every year that have a chance to kick in college. And we wish you the best of luck. And I know that you're going to be put in a position this coming year to win a game, huh? The game's going to be on the line at some point.
Yes, sir.
What are you thinking before we go when you're kicking a pressure field goal? Because the best kickers are calm. The best kickers are very isolated, and they block out all the noise. Everybody's screaming, and people are trying to talk to you and the best thing not to talk to you. But how do you feel when you're doing a pressure kick? I mean, do you block out the noise real good?
Yeah, I block out everything. This for every kick basically, but especially I know we had a game winner against Ponchatoula this year where we were down by 2 with 5 seconds left, and the crowd's roaring, but if you get in that zone, you can't really hear anything. You're just focusing on what you have to do. So just getting in that zone and blocking everything out and focusing on the ball and just putting it through the uprights.
Well, you just made brownie points with all the college coaches. So that's what they love to hear. Caden, keep working hard, man, and good luck to you this as a kicker, this year as a tight end and a wide receiver. And go Skippers, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, that was Caden Costa from Mandeville, a kicker, plays wide receiver, tight end, but a big-time D1 kicker, in my opinion, for college football. We'll be right back.
Hello, Sports Scouting Report fans. Like what you hear? Well, you're going to love our content at LAFootballMagazine.com. This week, check out our 2 recruit spotlights. Our first recruit spotlight of the week is on Parkview Baptist quarterback Roman Mule, who has committed to the Air Force Falcons last week. Our second recruit spotlight of the week is on the Kentwood linebacker Jakevis Callahan, who is carrying on the number 7 jersey left by his brother, LSU wide receiver Trey Palmer. Also, make sure to check out our podcast put on Mondays and Fridays each and every week, as well as pre-order your North and South Football Magazine editions for this upcoming season. All that and more at LAFootballMagazine.com. You are listening to part 2 of Lee's interview with former LSU basketball player John Tudor. To hear the first part of this interview, listen to our previous episode, which was posted on Monday.
Welcome back. You listen to Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. We have John Tudor with us, former LSU basketball starter, was a freshman in 81, played at LSU, and was a part of some great teams and for Dale Brown. But, John, tell us back when you were being recruited back in the day in 81 out of Pineville. What coach was recruiting you, and what did you think of that, going back to those days with Dale Brown and being the head coach, reliving that?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. You go back, of course, growing up in Louisiana and being attached to LSU from a very young age. My dad graduated from LSU. He played tennis at LSU. And in 1972, when Dale Brown came, he brought an assistant coach with him named Christy Christensen. And they started, when this was legal, you could do this, they started a program called the Tiger Tykes. Tiger Tykes was for youngsters we were anywhere from probably 9 to 12 years old. And I think I was 10 at the time. And it basically was a Harlem Globetrotter type of deal. You would perform at halftime, and you would do dribbling exhibitions and shooting exhibitions, and spin the ball on your finger and dribble it and bounce it between your legs. And I was fortunate enough to be a Tiger Tyke, and with Dale Brown in 1972. So I don't think I really had any choice of where I was going to go to
You were
school.
sold.
I was sold. I did. I went to a Dixie basketball camp. Some of these old guys might remember that. And it was originally in Baton Rouge. And then it moved to Southwest Mississippi Junior College over in Mississippi. And it was run by Joe Dean. Joe Dean.
String music.
And I attended that basketball camp every summer. And Dale Brown would come and be a part of it. And so, it was just kind of a natural progression. I was recruited by different schools my senior year, but I chose LSU, and really it wasn't they didn't have to spend a lot of time on me. It didn't take much. I talked to Coach Brown. He said, I'm offering you a scholarship. I said, it wasn't the time period where you could say, I'll let you know.
Right.
You either took it
or you lose it.
That's right. We didn't wait around. I said, I'd love to go to LSU. Thank you, Coach. Shook his hand, and that was that. Went to LSU, and so happy I did. Great experience, great school. Challenged me. I told my daughter recently, she's was fortunate enough to be accepted at Rice University, a very stringent academic school. Yeah. And I was speaking to her, and I said, "Hey, look, let me tell you, you're going to go there, and there are going to be some people who made 36s on their ACTs and 1,600 on their SATs, but you can hang with them, because this was my experience at LSU. I showed up, and I wasn't the fastest, but I was fast enough. I wasn't the quickest, but I was quick enough, and I wasn't the most explosive, but I was the most explosive. I was explosive enough. And I said, it really comes down to your desire, your will, and your commitment. And she was actually listening to me, which was amazing. So,
and you were self-made, and you became a starter, being a self-made player.
That's correct. That's correct. I did. I did. I became a starter, and you use your intangibles. You use what God's given you that other people will not excel at. So I use my court sense. I use my ability to read other defenses. I used my time in the film room to learn what other offenses were going to do before we went out and played them, who I was going to guard, what their tendencies were. That it seems commonplace, but you get into a season and it's just, you're going to class, you're going to practice, where are we flying tonight, who are we playing? Well, you can get surprised when the next thing you know, you've been back screened 3 times in a row, and your man has got 3 dunks, and you're over on the bench sitting down watching somebody else play for a while. So
right.
You had to stick after it, man.
And John, like you told me, when you go against Leonard Mitchell and practice every day, that made you ready.
Absolutely. I would start the season at about 195 pounds, and that was great. That's where I needed to be. I was 6'5", 195. And then I'd finish at about 185, sometimes 183, and it would be like, well, what happened? Well, I had every day in practice, I had to go 100% to keep my starting job.
You were running sprints every time. You were having to get it.
Yeah, there was no easing off and going 70, 80%, 60% practice. That was for those guys like Leonard who, he didn't have to jump as high as he could on every rebound. I did.
Now,
the difference.
I wanted to ask you 2 more things. One, what do you think of Will Wade as a coach? He's done a good job, and the first year, obviously, he couldn't coach the tournament. And then what's crazy, 2 years in a row, no tournament because of the virus. It's just real crazy.
That is crazy.
And then now he's coming back. He's got the number 4 recruiting class in the country.
Right.
Returning probably most of his team. He'll probably get Watford back from Alabama. He'll probably come back. And then they say in Smart's leaning to come back. And also with Darius Days, I think, should come back. So
I think he should too.
You got 10 guys. He's finally got a 10 rotation. Finally, 10.
Well, first, Will Wade. Really like Will. I met him when he first came to LSU before he coached the game. He came and actually spent some time at my house. He made the effort, and I really like that he's drawing the alumni, the guys who played previously, and drawing them back into the program just as a goodwill gesture, and knowing that you always want your former players to be there to support you and support the program. He's done a very good job of that. I like the way he approaches the game. It's from a very academic standpoint. Will, don't get mad at me for this, but you can see Will was not a player in college. Basically didn't have the height, the size, and that sort of thing. He wasn't, but he studied the game. And he knows what to do in the circumstance or in the area that is what's happening on the court, whether to keep these players in, whether to take them out, when to call timeouts, what has been working, what these percentages are on these players, and he's done a very good job. I really respect him, and I think he's done a great job. I think he'll continue to do a great job.
One last question for you. I know a lot of fans would love to hear your opinion on this. I think personally that John Brady's turning into one of the best play-by-play announcers in the SEC. What do you think?
Absolutely. John Brady got a long relationship in a way with John Brady. He actually was coaching in Louisiana high school when I played.
Crowley,
and
right?
he went on. Yeah, where was he? He was in. Where was he?
Crowley High School, I think. Crowley,
that's right. Crowley High School. That's Crowley High School. And then he went on to Mississippi State, and Butch Pierre, who was from Louisiana, went to Mississippi State, and we played them. And when I was there, rivalry, and John comes back, and he was big friends with Joe Dean Jr., and they were tight. And so he was at the Dixie basketball camp as a coach when I went there. So kind of a relationship. Never that he coached me, but John knows the game of basketball very well. Very, very smart, very learned basketball coach. And, hey, he took him to a Final Four. How many coaches can say that? So he knows the game. He understands it. And there's no doubt that he's looking at the game from the standpoint of years and years of experience. He is a great play-by-play, and you know, it's fun to hear someone and listen to someone who's that knowledgeable about the game of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game lacks those old school announcers and those old school guys on TV. You know, I don't want to say the new ones now, but I thought that the old school guys in the 80s and 90s were just more knew the game a little more than these newer ones I'm seeing. You know,
I agree with you. Many of those guys were former players and coaches, and they had done both, and that's kind of not the trend of what's going on these days. It's not a former player coach who ends up doing the color, and that's just the way it's moved. But you know, Hubie Brown, who used to do it in the NBA, and those guys, they were very sharp and had a lot of knowledge and experience.
I even miss Billy Packer doing it. He was probably the most non-player, you know. So.
That's true. There's always a few.
Yeah. Well, John, I appreciate you joining us, man. I think we covered a lot, and
I think so, Lee. One more thing. I think that Robert Parrish. I didn't look it up. I know there's internet everywhere. I didn't look it up. Edmund Lawrence. Robert Parrish and Edmund Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
Look up. Can you remember that name?
Yeah, I remember the name.
Lake Charles. I think it was. Anyway, Boston. W. Boston, maybe somebody. Edmund Lawrence, Robert Parrish, 2 7-footers in the 2A final game, Louisiana High School final game, 1972-73, somewhere in there. And I remember as a 10-year-old going to that game and just looking, going, "Wow, those are big guys."
Hey, one note to say before we go, John. One part that LSU needs to recruit better, and me and you talked about it, is New Orleans. And over the years, going back 40 years, only one big name, Randy Livingston.
Right.
And here's a stat for you, John. There are five New Orleans natives currently playing in the NBA right now. None of them went to LSU. 5.
It's just been an area that other schools, other coaches have really pinpointed, including Georgetown, Kentucky, name them. And LSU just has never been successful. I can't speak for the coaches and the recruiting. There may have been attempts that I didn't know about, but it just seems like New Orleans, which is 60, 70 miles from Baton Rouge, just has never been an area that has, brought in many players, and don't really know the reason, but we'd like to change that because there's some great players out in New Orleans, and we'd like to keep them in the state. I mean, I looked at right now real quick, and I know we're wrapping this up, Lee, but you look at the recruits that were a great recruiting class, phenomenal. You got the one kid from Walker,
Jalen Cook
class, right, and then the other kid it looks like is the transfer from Georgetown, Josh
LeBlanc, yeah.
Josh LeBlanc. Josh Bray's the other kid, the big kid out of New York, I think. So you really looking at 2 more. I mean, everybody else is from Virginia, from Las Vegas, from California. Love to keep those guys from Louisiana here, and shout out to you young players or anybody who has some influence on these kids who are great players in Louisiana. Let's try to keep them here. Good for the state, good for the kids.
Appreciate it, John. I enjoyed it, man. And
absolutely, me too.
Have a great week, and we'll catch up with you soon. And like I said, I'm gonna get you a magazine in the mail from last year in football. And just so you know, I'm saying Centenary, Louisiana College,
right?
We're the
Right.
only ones that preview Louisiana College in a football preview that's not in the newspaper.
Excellent. Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats,
man. Even though they're Louisiana Wildcats, not Kentucky Wildcats.
Division III, the only D3 school in the state of Louisiana, the only one.
Hey, amen.
Right.
Great school.
All
Very
right,
proud
John.
of our Louisiana College Wildcats.
All right, take
Lee,
care,
thank
John.
you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Great talking to you.
John
All right.
Tudor, former LSU basketball starter, and from the 81, signed in 81, and was on the Final 14, played at LSU, was a starter. Point guard, 2 guards, small forward, was a great player at LSU from Pineville High School. We'll be right back.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today. It's time for the college football update.
Hi, everyone. This is the final segment of our show, which is going to be, instead of mailbag, we're going to do college notes. And I thought we should mention the commitment for LSU. Garrett Dellinger out of Michigan, out of Clarkston High School in Michigan, 6'6", 300 pounds, could come in and play guard or tackle. This kid reminds me a lot of Ethan Posick that played at LSU from Illinois, Chicago. About 4 years ago, Ethan was a big-time signee by Les Miles. And it's very interesting what LSU's doing. They're going all to the Illinois, the Pennsylvanias, the Ohios, and the Michigans. And they're not just getting commitments from linemen. They're getting the best in the state. You remember last year LSU got a commitment and a signee from Anthony Bradford, who's from Detroit, Michigan. And he's going to probably start this year at 6'6", about 345 with feet. Pro future. And way back, remember they got Joe Barksdale. Joe Barksdale was from Detroit, Michigan, Detroit Cass High School. Was an All-American, played about 7 years in the NFL as a starter, Joe Barksdale. So, LSU's doing some damage in Michigan over the last 10 years. And this kid, Garrett Dellinger, I watched film on him. I didn't see him in person, but I watched a lot of film. And this kid is long. He's as lean as they come for 300, 6'6". He looks 270, 260. Strong, can pull, could be a guard or tackle. Probably weigh about 320, 325 when he gets that Tommy Moffitt muscle on him. And here's a fact that I found out about Garrett Dellinger. I mean, it's on the internet for everybody to see. But his brother is a Navy SEAL, and his dad works for the government. And they've lived all over the country. And so it was very interesting when he was interviewed by one of the Michigan newspapers early on, this is before he committed to LSU, that he was open to moving because his family's lived in over 10 states. So here's a kid that really doesn't have a home, per se, and Michigan's not like he grew up a Michigan kid. They lived in Alabama, they lived in Texas, they lived all over the country, they lived in Pennsylvania. And so that was a good get for LSU if they can sign him, and I think they will. But his teammate, Rocco Spindler, plays side by side, and he's the top lineman in the state. Garrett's the second best lineman in the state. They're teammates. Rocco's about 6'5", about 290. He runs a 4.9. And if LSU can somehow get this kid Rocco to commit with his teammate Garrett Dellinger, that would be the biggest coup in the history of LSU football, to get two kids from the state of Michigan. I don't ever remember that happening, this two big-time players like this. Now, Rocco Spindler, a little trivia, his dad, Mark Spindler, was the #1 recruit in the country when he came out of high school, out of Pennsylvania, and ended up being an All-American at the University of Pitt and played over 10 years in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. Just a little tidbit for you. This kid comes from great stock with his dad playing pro ball. And LSU actually offered his dad many years ago in the 80s, Mark Spindler. He was the number one player in the country as a defensive tackle. Just some tidbits. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to go to the website and pre-order your North magazine and your South magazine. The magazine's not ready, but you can pre-order it. Right now, you can go to lafootballmagazine.com. And, we welcome you to – we now have a digital version where you can order a digital copy. But it'll just be digital that'll be emailed to you once the magazine's ready. And then the hard copy will go out when the magazine's ready, late August, early September. And we'll have the All-Louisiana first team in the magazine. And then we'll have the second team and third teams on our internet on the website later on. We don't have a date yet for that, but later on we'll have that up. But I hope you enjoyed the show with John Tudor, former LSU basketball player, Caden Costa, kicker from Mandeville, our college notes, and the ULL segment with our 4 receivers. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and see you Monday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.